From that finance perspective, there are 2 to 3 big changes to look out for. When do interest rates start to reach their top? And I'm of the opinion that we're very, very close. And I think on earlier podcasts, I even said that late this year or early next year, we may see some declines. And just recently, overseas markets across, say, the USA as one example, are predicting much the same for their local economies. And as we know, whilst not all money's connected, there is a small connection between all these other countries because of our imports, exports, the dollar, and so forth. So when we think of our funding lines too, I think the finance side of things from a policy perspective had some fantastic policies to protect us a few years back, and that's the change of assessment rate. So assessment rates for those new to the term is basically banks saying, hey, you might be getting lending at 2 or 3% back in the day, but we're going to assess you back then on 5-7%, which I think was a brilliant move, by the way, Phil, because how good must households be feeling right now that when they got that 2 to 3% money, they were assessed by the bank as if they were on 5, 6, and 7%, which is where we are now on the 5s and where we could be heading if they keep going up. And yet households were assessed on that. So it's very important. But if those rates keep going too high, then that assessment rate has 2 issues. One is if you're having 5% rates today, you're now being assessed on 8 or 9. I just don't think that makes sense, because whilst that was a very positive policy for protecting Australia in the 2s and 3s, so we get back to those long-term averages of interest rates, but when we're in assessments of 8, 9, 10, the whole country would explode if we had 9 and 10% rates today with the amount of debts we have. So it's actually less productive for Australia's economy, Australia's households to refinance and find what's best for them. And it's actually better for the banks just for them to be stuck there and not move as much. So I personally think that there could be some movements in assessment rates if the finance numbers for interest rates keep going. And of course, interest rates may not increase towards the tail end of the year, could even decrease. So that's our thinking on that side.